Living with heart, basically it's trusting enough in yourself that you'll be able to trust in others and be able to trust that it's all going to work out. You're the only one that's always going to be there for you. That's it. Even for me, like kids, whatever family we have, you can't guarantee that. You are the only one that's physically going to be there with you for the rest of your life. So you might as well make a good friend out of yourself, and you might as well get to like yourself, you might as well get to love yourself, you might as well get to accept, trust, be grateful for everything. It all comes down to you. Okay, welcome to Module 1. Module 1 is all about honesty. And honesty is the end goal here is for you when you're out to be your authentic self and not to worry about being judged by anyone else. So in this module, we're going to talk about being honest with yourself, because like a college class, being honest with yourself is a prerequisite for being honest with other people. Hi, welcome to Lesson 1. Before we start, I'm hoping you let me do a little practice with you that I incorporate into my own life, and it works really well. Now, have you heard of meditation before? I thought so. Does it kind of freak you out? Like you go like, there's no way I can sit for that long and meditate? Well, I thought the same thing. And I'm actually trained to teach meditation. But what I found is I devised this little practice called I Am a Star. And so I do it throughout the day, just for a couple minutes. It serves the same purpose as a full long meditation, which is just to quiet your mind and check in with yourself. So if you want to, I'm going to go ahead and do this just to get my mind in the right place. And why don't you join me too? See if you like it. Make sure you're in a safe place though, because I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I don't want you driving and doing this. So, okay, so we call it I'm a Star. All right, star because S stands with just stop what you're doing. P is just take a breath, and I'm going to show you how to do that. A is check in, become aware of just how you're feeling at the moment, and then R is going to be reset, okay? So S, stop what you're doing, just decide you need a couple-minute break. All right, T, take a deep breath. Now, silly as it sounds, I've delivered a lot of babies. I've helped people as they die, as a nurse also, and we start our life with this big deep breath, and we end it with a deep breath. But somehow in the middle, we forget. Check yourself during the day. I bet you're holding your breath. All right, so by doing this, you're going to feel a lot better. Your mind's going to be clear, and you'll see a difference. So, all right, you ready? You don't have to get in any position. Just get comfortable. I do like you to close your eyes. Okay, you're going to take a deep breath in with your nose, and you're going to feel your chest expand. Just see how big you can get your chest, okay? And then I want you to blow it away, nice and evenly, and then I want you to breathe it back in again, and I want you to blow it away, and then I want you to breathe in, feel that chest expand, and then blow it away. One more. Breathe in, and then blow it away. All right, so now I just want you to check in and see how you're feeling. Anxious, nervous, mad, annoyed? Okay, just say, cool, I'm feeling that way, accept it. And now you're resetting, and you can go on with your day. Great. Now that we've finished I'm a Star, we're going to move on to the Lesson 1. In this lesson, we're going to talk about writing your story. And the reason that you want to write your story is because if you're being honest with yourself, you really need to know what you think your story is. So the word story is really funny. When we say people's story, our stories may not actually be the real story, but it's a story that we tell ourselves about who we are. And the best way to find what that story is that we've been telling ourselves is to write it down. When you're writing the story down, I don't want you to really think from here. I want you to think from here. I want you to just get a pad of paper And I started and I group it by age group. Like I would start in my childhood and then I would move on to my teen years and then my young adulthood and then when I was adult, say like over 25. And you're gonna sit there with a pad of paper and you're just gonna start thinking back. And you're gonna just start writing. Don't worry about writing because when you're gonna do this, nobody's gonna see this but you. This is just for you, about you. So just write from the heart. What you're gonna do with this story when you're done, you're just gonna read it as though you were somebody else. You're an objective observer reading this story. And by reading what you've written from the heart, a lot of times you're gonna find things and you go, oh my God, I think that's really not true. This lesson of owning your story and owning your stuff is really about connecting here with what's in here, your mind and body, just to find out. So the point of writing your story is really just to connect your mind and body. You've heard of the inner critic, right? Do you have one? Yeah, you have to. Everyone has one. Mine, she can get nasty. But in this story, you're gonna find out and you're gonna be able to read and detect where your inner critic's coming from and what she may be keeping you from getting what you really want out of life. Right? Because what I found after all this and living with heart is about finding out where you're keeping yourself stuck and you've been blaming it on everyone else. You know, we all do that, don't feel bad. But this first lesson is about getting to know yourself and seeing that you're not a victim. You know, you are in control of your life. I am in control of my life. So when something doesn't go right, you know, we have to look within. So on the lesson plan, you'll find an area where it's broken out for you that to write your story. And then there'll be something connected to a personal inventory. A personal inventory, real quick, is just taking different areas of your life, and I'm gonna have you write down what you want out of those areas of life. And then the next section is what you have, where your life, what it really looks like. And then you're going to take a look at what you can do to get what you want. So enjoy this. I hope you have fun doing this story. It may take time, don't have to do it in one sitting, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Hey, welcome back. So did you enjoy writing out your story? Yeah? Did you find out anything interesting about yourself? Okay. Well, listen, writing your story is just one strategy on how to become more authentic, and it's not a one and done. Do it, you know, whenever you find yourself being stuck. Okay. The next strategy I want to talk to you about is feeling your emotions. And, yeah, I know the noise.
I really heard that drop, whatever that was.
Now, will you hear all the footsteps and stuff?
No.
You can get that out.
That your voice is overpowering that. It's just that big thumps.
Mm-hmm.
It's what.
All right, tell me when you.
Okay, now it's you're good.
Okay. So writing your story was just one strategy, and it's not a one and done. You can do that whenever you feel like you're a little stuck, or, you know, just do it whenever you want. This is up to you. This is your journey to becoming more authentic. So do it how you like. These are strategies that I've found that have worked for me. So, and the second strategy I want to talk to you about is feeling the deal, like the whole notion of emotion, which most of us don't like, because in this strategy, you have to really get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's not a good feeling at first, but this is truly the way to learn to be honest and authentic and accepting with yourself. which will then make you with others. And that's the whole purpose of this, okay? So in feeling to deal, you remember we did I'm a Star at the beginning of this? Well, the awareness in that is all about checking in with yourself and checking in with your feelings, all right? Negative feelings are okay. We all have them. What's not okay is when you try to like pretend they're not there and you push them down or distract yourself through the busyness of life. Have you ever done that? Oh my God, I spent so many years doing that. I used to spend like all day, I would never sit still, you know, and the reason we do that is so that we don't have to sit and think and feel. So I want you to, so what works best in this is that if you allow yourself to feel emotion, good or bad, okay? Some of the things you don't want to do when you're doing, don't identify with it. So, you know, don't say like, oh God, I am so sad. Because amazingly, our brain, if we tell ourselves that long enough, we start to believe it. So instead of saying I am, just say I feel, because it's two totally separate ways that your brain interprets it, all right? It's a really great idea when you're trying to find out where your feelings are is to take a 24-hour period. Just take a full day, carry a little notebook with you, and throughout the day, you're going to just check in with yourself with the I'm a Star, and you're gonna note like what you're feeling. It's amazing when you actually take the time and your intention is to figure out what it is you're feeling, what comes out. The truth of you comes out. And as you're doing this and writing down your feelings, what you also want to take note of is where are you feeling it in your body? A lot of times people, when they repress feelings, we tend to disconnect our body from our minds. And so we don't really pay attention to what our body's trying to tell us. We just listen to that nasty old inner critic, again, that we all have, okay? So when you're writing down throughout the day, write down, well, what am I feeling? And where am I feeling it in my body? Did I all of a sudden get a wicked headache? Is my stomach really anxious? Am I feeling dizzy? So those negative feelings that you have, our body usually lets us know that we're having negative feelings. We just get really good at ignoring our body and we disconnect like our thoughts from our body. Well, in this dealing with emotion, I want you to really listen to your body, because our body, the body doesn't lie. This lies. Your body's not going to lie. So during this 24-hour period when you're noticing your emotions, you're going to write down the feeling that you're having, and then you're going to put where in your body you're having it. And the next thing I want you to really particularly pay attention to is what's happening around you. Did somebody say something that gave you that feeling, or a situation? The reason you do this, these are what we call triggers, and triggers usually, they develop patterns. So if you're able to figure out that you're feeling anxious or nervous, and you see patterns develop, then you can figure out ways to not get triggered. Like, I'll let you, here's an example. When I was growing up, I was always called stupid, right? So anything that made me feel stupid elicited like negative feelings in my body. Like I felt nervous, like my whole personality changed, right? By noticing and writing down what I was feeling and what happened around that feeling, I was able to see like, oh wow, every time like I'm challenged, it elicits this feeling. And it's because of that old belief, which I found out by the story. So you see how this kind of all works together. That's how I was able to identify my pattern of feeling that, just feeling yucky in my body, for the lack of a better professional word. But that's what you can find out from this. So I want you to take the next day or so, carry that little notebook, and just to summarize, you're going to write down what you're feeling, where you're feeling it in your body, and what was the situation that happened around it. I'll see you in the next lesson. Hey, welcome back. So today's lesson, we're going to talk about forgiveness. And, I'd like to tell you a quick little story because the whole idea of this is learning to be authentic with yourself. And so I think this story best reflects what forgiveness is about. Now, I was a home care nurse, and as a home care nurse, I would go out and I'd see patients. And the way I got patients was there was a nurse in an office who would assign me patients. And I saw 40 or 50 a week. And then all of a sudden, they started like tapering off. And so much so, over a 6-month period, it cost me about $20,000 in patients, right? And I tried to go to this woman and find out why, and she was just never really open about discussing it until one day I laid it down. I'm like, look, we need to talk about this. Why are you upset? Why are you holding these patients? And, she was still hesitant. It was like pulling teeth getting it out of this woman. And, I just kept asking questions. And what she had said, that she was angry at me because I was able to see patients and still do it in a flexible manner. With my old job, I could schedule people when I wanted. So if I scheduled all my work in 2 days and had 3 days off, well, that was fine, as long as I got my work done. So she was angry at me because I had the ability to do that. And so I said to her, I'm like, well, you can do that. I said, you're a nurse, you can do the same thing. She goes, oh God, I would never want to do that. Now, the moral of the story is, she was angry because she was kind of envious of a schedule I had. But when confronted that she could do the same thing, she thought, no, I don't want to do that. The story talks about she was holding a grudge because of something that she had the power to change within herself. And I think a lot of times with forgiveness, the people that we have to forgive, it may be because of something we're dealing with within us. And where I've come, one of the strategies that I employ all the time is that if you're angry at someone, if you think they said something that angered you, you need to confront them. Now, confront, I don't really like that word because it sounds like you're being nasty. By confronting someone, I just mean that if someone says something to you, clarify it with them. Or just be honest and tell them, say, it upset me when you said that. Like, what was the meaning behind that? And that way you won't develop a grudge like this coworker of mine did. And you won't hold on to that anger. Second thing is that you may be telling yourself a story in your head as to what this person said or meant. Perception is everything that happens, every experience we have, it's all about perception and how we perceive it. So, you may be telling yourself a story in the head, and the only way to know that is to talk to the person about what bothers you. So, my son, 27-year-old, is really wise. He said to me one time, he said, Mom, we were talking about a situation and when someone was treating someone not well. And he said, you have to look at the person's intention behind it. He said, because if someone acts a certain way, but there's no malice behind what they're doing, you kind of just have to let it roll over your shoulder. And I thought, wow, I did a good job, because that was pretty smart of him to say that. So again, forgiveness is making sure there's actually something there to forgive. The best way and the strategy that I used to employ this was to make a list of who I need to forgive. And ironically, the person that I came out with that I needed to forgive the most was me. And that was because, well, I had like 37 things to forgive myself for. And they all had to do with other people. Allowing other people to talk to me a certain way, or allowing people to treat me some way without standing up and voicing my own opinion, like I did with my coworker. The old me never would have done that. I would have just told story after story in my head instead of just asking her. And when I just went up and asked her and was authentic, the problem fixed itself. That was it. That conversation we had took care of the problem. So the strategy I'm going to suggest you do is that grab a notebook, once again the notebook, and I want you to make a list of people who you think wronged you. It can be in the past, present, and just jot down what is it that you think they did to you that you need to forgive them for. Do the same thing with yourself. Once you've done that, some of the different ways you can address it is you can do like I did with my coworker. You can ask them nicely. I don't want you to go up like real angry at someone. You don't have to be aggressive, but just ask them about the situation and what they meant out of it. The second thing you can do is write a letter. Writing a letter is amazing, particularly if you're hanging on to some anger for someone who's no longer alive. Thanks. I will see you in the next lesson. Hi, welcome back. Today's lesson we're going to be talking about just being you. No hiding, no defending, no pretending. Now, why do people hide? People hide because they don't want to be judged. And they're afraid. Like all of us are a little bit insecure. And when we're afraid that other people will judge us, then we do a couple things. We either like put this wall or this mask up, or we pretend to be somebody we're not. Neither of them work out really well though. Think about a time that you were pretending to be somebody that you were not. Number one, didn't you find it's a lot of work? I mean, it takes a lot of energy to not be you. So people can sense that you're pretending to be somebody that you're not. You know, I'll tell you a little example is that when I did quit work and I was networking, because I didn't have a network. I mean, as a home care nurse, I really didn't know any professionals. And I kind of fell into getting involved with city government. And, you know, it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. I felt like I was out of my element. And what happens is when you don't feel right and you're pretending to be somebody you're not, sometimes we come off as being maybe a little more arrogant than we usually are. But the story was, I wasn't me. And I could tell the way people were responding to me. It was not the way people have responded to me my whole life. And so what happened was I tried harder to be like them. And the harder I tried, and it was like this vicious cycle. If I tried to be somebody I wasn't, people didn't respond to being like they had my whole life. So then I tried even harder, and then they didn't respond even more. And it took me a while. Like in my gut, I knew going, oh, you know, this is this isn't where I'm supposed to be. But what proved it to me was I was in the elevator one day talking to this gentleman, and I was just talking about what I'd experienced and what I had seen throughout the years of doing my job. And for the first time ever, this city official had said to me, you know what, do you have your business card? I'd really like to get in touch with you about this. That gentleman ended up being the mayor of one of the largest cities in Philadelphia. And I walked out of that elevator and went, wow, cool, he asked me for my business card. But then I realized the reason he asked me for my business card was because I was doing Leslie. I wasn't doing anyone else. I wasn't trying to fit in. So the moral of the story is just do you. Because when you're doing you, things are going to flow to you. Things are going to come to you because people are going to sense that you're comfortable in your own skin. When you're trying to be someone you're not, whoever you're talking to, they're going to sense that also, and they're going to feel uncomfortable. So do you and wear you proudly. Don't worry about other people judging or criticizing who you are. Because you know what I've learned? Those who criticize are usually the ones who don't have the nerve to do what you're trying to do. You know? So in this lesson, there is no homework, there is no assignment. And to do a wrap up of Module 1, Module 1 was all about honesty. All right, and underneath honesty, some of the strategies we looked, and being honest with yourself, is to write your story. See what you can find out from your story, what you've been telling yourself. The second thing we did was we took a look at emotions and honoring emotions, both positive and negative, that you had. The third was forgiveness, forgiving other people, forgiving yourselves, and asking people flat out, just being like, if they hurt you or if you feel wronged, talk to them about it. And then this last one was just being you, just doing you.